Toward the end of Georgia's royal period, colonists were divided on whether to support Great Britain. Some colonists were still loyal to the British because they had close ties through their families or owned successful businesses that were backed by the crown. But others were growing restless with British rule. Tensions were rising between the colonists and Great Britain for several reasons. The British had just fought a long, expensive war with the French and a number of indigenous groups for land and control in North America. This conflict was called the French and Indian War. When Britain won, it gained a lot of new territory, but this victory created complications. Great Britain didn't want to risk another costly fight with indigenous people living on this land. So King George III issued the Proclamation of 1763, which prohibited colonists from settling west of the Appalachian Mountains. This made many colonists furious because they wanted to move west and claim new land. To make things worse, Britain was still dealing with a huge amount of debt from the war. Its solution? Taxes. One of the most unpopular taxes was the Stamp Act, which made colonists pay extra for everyday paper goods like newspapers and legal documents. It might be hard to imagine how the colonists were feeling over 250 years ago, but think about it this way. For colonists trying to grow businesses and communities, it felt like they were putting in all the hard work to build the team, while the coach, Great Britain, kept changing the rules, adding new fees, and blocking opportunities. You can imagine their frustration. Colonial businesses were hit hard by these new taxes. So many people decided to fight back by boycotting British goods, meaning they refused to buy them and protesting, like in the famous Boston Tea Party. At the same time, some colonists were forced to live under British military control, which caused a lot of anger and tension. Eventually, a clash between soldiers and colonists turned violent, leading to deaths in what became known as the Boston Massacre. Once word of these events spread around the colonies, many felt the urge to pick a side, which created a big question: stay loyal to the British or join the revolution? Let's travel back in time to 1774 to see how Georgia's colonists would answer.
On a warm evening late in the year, the plantation home of Jacob and Abigail Morris. Dinner is over. The couple and their friends gather in the parlor to talk. Their guest tonight is a merchant, Charles Blair, who has sailed to Georgia from London, England. To protest British taxes, the American colonists, especially in the North, are boycotting, are not buying British goods, and it's hurting his business.
And Charles, we're so excited to have you with us tonight. How goes your business in London?
Not very well. The boycott is slowly destroying me. I have several warehouses full of merchandise that if I do not sell soon, I will go completely broke. I do not understand why people in the other colonies can't be like the good people of Georgia and buy English goods.
Excuse me, sir. I think that the colonies have been too reasonable for far too long. The British are killing us. They're really hurting us with their unfair trade restrictions and navigation acts.
Georgia has prospered under England, and they have bought all of our raw goods and materials. And the southern colonies, well, they haven't suffered under these restrictions that the British government has placed upon the colonies.
Do you realize what's happening in Boston? The intolerable acts, the punishment of the city. It's time we boycott British goods.
William, how can you justify the actions of your friends in Boston when they dump tea worth £1,000 in the harbor?
Well, destruction of property is not a solution.
Oh, but you know what hotheads those Bostonians are anyway. They are so easy to anger. They are not like us Georgians. We are very tolerable.
But not for long. The Georgians aren't going to accept unfair taxation.
Charles, you must excuse John. He's been associating with those Liberty Boys.
Oh, you have them here in Georgia also. We have them in Massachusetts. There they are known as the Sons of Liberty, and they have caused much trouble. They are led by that hothead Samuel Adams.
You can thank the British Stamp Act for that. If it wasn't for the Liberty Boys, we would not be able to stop the sale of that despicable stamp.
And they did, too.
In Britain, we pay much more in taxes than you do in the colonies, and it costs us a great deal of money to protect you from the Indians. It is only fair that the American colonists pay part of the cost. And you know the tax was carefully considered and then voted on by Parliament.
Voted on by whom? What right does Parliament have to impose taxes on the colonies? We have no elected members of Parliament. We must go with the other colonies. No taxation without representation.
Well, if it's just taxation that bothers you,
It's not that simple. Our rights as Englishmen have been trampled upon. They come into our homes, they search. They take our right of trial by jury away. They force us to quarter and supply British troops. We must join the protest.
well, then how do you propose our differences should be resolved?
You and Britain must treat us as equals. We must have the same economic and political freedom as you. Otherwise, we'll separate and form our own government.
Gentlemen, what will Georgia do? Will they remain loyal to the king, or will they join with the Patriots?
You'd asked me that question a year ago, I would have definitely said the king. But now that I think about it, Georgia may very well join the other colonies and
And you think they'll protest?
I think they'll protest.
But why? So many Georgians are still loyal to the king. Many Georgians were born in England. They still have relatives that live there. Remember, it's only been a short while since Georgia became a colony.
And don't forget about the royal governor, Governor Wright. He's so popular with the people, and he's been a great deal of help to Georgia. Look at all the prosperity that he's brought to the colony. He's brought us stability. He's brought new immigrants into the colony. We've prospered here now.
There seems to be no easy solution.
There is a solution. We have to look at our Puritans of Midway, Georgia, and their relatives in Massachusetts. They believe in the concept of self-government. If Britain continues to deny us the right of self-government, it will be war, gentlemen, and if it is war, Georgia will be in it.
Absolutely. Here, here.
In the end, Georgia did decide to join the fight with the other colonies. Together, they declared independence from Great Britain, setting the stage for the Revolutionary War and the beginnings of a new nation.